So, you saw Catfish in the Bottom End neighbourhood.
I did.
And I've been meaning to talk to you about it in depth because there's rumours going around that they're splitting up. The drummer's just left.
Yeah.
It's all going tits up. Was it obvious from that performance?
So, one of the biggest reasons that I was going to neighbourhood is because Catfish were on.
Yeah.
Because I really like them. I've never seen them live. You have.
Yeah.
And I got told when we was going that this was like possibly the last show that they're gonna do.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, it's gonna be crazy, it's gonna be mega, it's gonna go off. You know what I mean? And they were headlining the Sunday. And not gonna lie, half the time I wasn't really kind of looking at them because I was just kind of in the moment and experiencing it. But about halfway through the set, I was like, Van McCann's not said anything.
Yeah.
Like, he's not spoken at all.
Which is
There's no
worrying.
crowd interaction. Not even like, you know, we are Catfish in the Bottom End.
Well, I watched their Reading set, not live, but via television. And I don't know, right? Because I don't really like them that much these days, but I used to fucking love them, right? You know, they were my shit. They're probably the reason that I started a band, right? So, back then, headlining Leeds and Reading for them would have been like the pinnacle. You know what I mean? So I expected it to be a ceremonious occasion.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't. They didn't seem that arsed. Like Van, like you say, barely spoke. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know where the breakdown has happened. I thought watching that set that the guitarist was the issue because he walked off one way and the rest of them walked off the other way. But now the drummer's left. So...
Drummer didn't see coming because we know Bob. We talked about Bob a few times. I feel like I've got this thing where I know that Chloe likes Bob. Don't know why I think that. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But just thinking about how, you know, I assume you'd be on that sort of stage because it was a festival.
Yeah.
And you know, considering it was like in Warrington, you'd think it'd be like quite small. It was quite well done. It was well done.
Yeah.
But like, no, I feel like no one moved like around the stage.
I feel like they've booked more gigs as well.
There is now. Like after watching it, thinking, oh my god, that was it. Because if it was it, I was like, I get it. If you're on the bridge of splitting up and, you know, you got one more show to do, you have to get it over and done with, I get it. But there is more. Yeah,
I don't know what they're going to do about drummer. But this brings us to something else.
Surely he's got to contractually be there.
No, probably not. Well, maybe that was why he did those shows, because he had to contractually be there. And then this is... But I mean, it brings us to something, the sort of wider topic that we wanted to talk about, which is sort of the... often complicated relationships with people that you have when you are working with them on a creative basis. You know what I mean? And I feel like the way people like Catfish in the Bottom End operate is very much like one of them writes the songs and takes it to the others, and then they just like add their bit.
Talking about Catfish, do you know like in depth about like the first guitarist and what happened there?
I don't know why he left. No, I don't know if it was like. Because you would assume, right, they've been going for like 7 years before they got signed. You would assume that he wouldn't have just got that far and then been like, actually, it's not for me. You know what I mean? I feel like it was a relationship problem. So they've been together for 7 years before they even got signed. You would assume that he wouldn't just make it that far and then decide it wasn't for him. I feel like it was definitely like a relationship issue. But this is the thing, like, I think... when you're working with other people creatively, be it in a band or whatever, you have to be a group of people that are where no one is interchangeable.
Yeah.
So I think with the best bands, they stick together for longer periods of time because they all value each other's part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I've said to you before, I could make a song, and even though I'm like the main songwriter in my band, if I just made a song from start to finish by myself, it wouldn't be the same as if I started making a song and then took it to the boys and we finished it together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're so ingrained in the production and the structuring of it and all that. Even me and you know what I mean? Like, when we work together, we bring things to the table.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just a musician playing someone else's songs as part of a band, if you're just the guitarist who just comes up with a little guitar part and doesn't really contribute to the whole product massively, then you're somewhat interchangeable. Anyone can play that.
Yeah, I do think it's like a bit of an ego thing as well, though, because like some people, like session musicians, must be content with just being like the session musician.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I always see this drummer that always plays live for like lots of people, or like there'll be like a TV set with like someone promoting something, and like this certain drummer will be there. I'm like, oh shit, you've drummed for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like they must like it and be okay with it, and just like accept like like the old school idea where like as a producer like you have to fucking like beg for like the artist to come in and stuff, and like you got to do everything for them and stuff.
Yeah.
That sort of ideology, like this is your role.
Right.
You have to deal with it to get the work.
Yeah.
Where I say it's changed now, where everything's more open and available to people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't need to have that.
I agree with it being sort of an ego thing, because I think some people are in bands when really they're only doing the job of a session musician. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they think that because they're in the band,
Yeah.
that they carry,
It's them, yeah.
they sort of bring a certain weight to their name. And it's about being on the same page as well. You know what I mean? Like I don't think you can truly creatively work with someone unless there's a part of you that's like identical.
Yeah.
And obviously that doesn't mean you can't be different, because I think working with people who are different to you brings different ideas to the table. But there has to be this like through line where you both see the same end goal.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you don't know what you're working to. And I feel like a lot of bands split up because there's like a leader and then 3 other people, and the 3 other people need to do what the leader says. Otherwise, and that comes from like the leader being the songwriter. It's like, I'm the songwriter. What are you gonna do without me? You know what I mean? There's like a sort of an unjust sense of importance that comes with it.
I can't think of anyone that's changed like a lead person.
Exactly. And this is the thing, because Kasabian, got rid of their frontman.
Shit.
Like a year or 2 ago, and haven't played since. But they've announced dates.
Yeah, headlining Neighbourhood next year
without him. And even though he's not the chief songwriter, he's the frontman. You know what I mean? Like to a degree, he's part of the face of the band. He's definitely the voice of the band.
Yeah.
And even though the other Serge, the other guy, sings some songs and he writes most of the shit. It's different, innit? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's like if Liam Gallagher had got kicked out of Oasis and then Noel just sang all the songs, even though he wrote them, it's a different vibe.
Yeah,
that gets brought to it.
Yeah,
I don't think you can truly carry on
once someone's gone. There's part of the DNA in it that it's taken out.
It's a different band. It changed. Like I love the Kooks' first album. But the Kooks have changed lineups so many times since then. And like, even though it's the same songwriter, what makes anyone think they'd be the same now as they were
what
then?
is the Kooks?
Exactly, you know what I mean? The Kooks is essentially just Luke Pritchard and the guitarist. Like the others, the bass player and the drummer have changed like at least 4 times. They've had like 4 drummers.
I've said to you before, that's what I think about Catfish though, because like that first album like is so crazy.
Yeah.
And crazy good. I think when that guitarist did go, like it did change.
Yeah, I would agree.
And then it's just kind of, for me personally, like it has gone like, the second album's alright, but it's just gone down on it.
Yeah, I think because, and again, this is like you need to value what each person brings to the table. That first album, part of the reason why it was sounded so massive was those big guitar riffs, you know what I mean? And I think even though the guitarist that came afterwards, the one that they've got now, is a good guitarist, he's more of like a guitarist. Yeah. Like, he's more fiddly, you know what I mean?
You love that word.
I love a good fiddle. He's more fiddly, and the first guitarist was more writing catchy shit. Yeah. So it's less complicated, but it's a hook.
It hooks, yeah.
And I feel like you've got to value that. I saw a Chris Martin interview, right? Obviously, we love Coldplay on this podcast.
The boys.
I saw a Chris Martin interview time ago, and it changed the way I think about making music.
No, well.
When he was talking about, Bono told him that you need to respect the chemistry between you, because that's what makes the band what it is. and I've like, because I used to be that guy. I used to be the songwriter and play this. You know what I mean?
You did used to be that guy.
But there's so much more value in collaboration. You know what I mean? And obviously, I was young when I was that guy, and I've realised
he was crazy hard to work with when you was younger.
This is one thing that I've got down on my notes that I wanted to ask you. What was it like? And you can talk honestly about this. What was it like when we first started working together? What were your thoughts and opinions on the way that I work? Because I think I've changed a lot since then.
So when we first met, like I've mentioned this before, like you was already like kind of deep into writing your own music and like making your own stuff.
Yeah.
Where I was still at the point, because I'm not like a performance guy. So I was still very much like thinking like learning how to play other people's stuff, learning how to make sounds other people made. So like I think we had a good like switch. Do you know what I mean? Like you brought a lot to the table and I brought a lot to the table.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the creative decisions, it was kind of like I had to fucking argue with you about how I think something would be done. And you was like, no, that's not how you do it. And you'd either come at it like with a reason behind it, like this, like I know how to do this and you don't. This is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Or you were like, no, that's shit. I think it should do this. And that's how we're doing it.
Yeah. I think because, and I've maybe said this to you before, right? The way that I make music, and part of the only reason I think I'm decent at making music is because I've got a really good imagination. So like if an idea sparks some creative outburst, I can hear where it needs to go.
Yeah.
So I used to be very much like, but this is how it needs to go. You know what I mean? Like I can hear it, and I wasn't very open to sort of changing that. Whereas now I'm like, I want to take it in this direction. Let's try it, and then we'll try what you think, and then we'll see. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think even if you did say that, you'd still think I'm fucking gonna use mine. Like I'm just doing it to kind of let them have the say. You're like in your head, you might say, "I'll let them do the thing," and then it's like, "No, it's not that bad. It's not that good."
Well, no, there's times when like Sean will suggest something or Jamie will suggest something in the band, and we'll try it, and I'm like, yeah, that's actually sick. You know what I mean? And again, value in the relationship, value in the chemistry. I value their opinion on what they bring.
Now you do.
Yeah, now I do, because we're a few years down the line and I've taken my head out of my own arse enough to see that they're good. You know what I mean? The same with you. I value your musical opinion.
But there's a clip, right, of us at college when Tony was recording us working on the Autumn Kiss song.
Yeah.
And you're doing this riff. And like I'm doing the thing we used to, where like you need to play that note there, not there, and just change it. And you was like, no.
Well,
and it's tense watching it going, fuck, that was awkward. Like, I remember being in that situation.
Sometimes it just doesn't work.
I know, but I think it did end up being what I was changing it to. But you were just like, And then you try and like, right, if we're gonna change it, we'll use these notes instead, but just not that one.
Yeah, because sometimes shit really doesn't work. Like obviously, I'm a believer in compromise to a degree. Not even compromise, right? I think I would rather we do your idea or my idea, because if you compromise, it's no one's idea.
No one's idea,
yeah. So like,
that's what I think that's good about us now. Like sometimes, like you'll have an idea, and I'm like, yeah, just go for it. If that's what you want to do, go for it.
Yeah.
And like hoping that like if I'm like, this is what I think we should do, that you'd be also be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I think I don't know where this has come from.
No.
But with age, I've gotten to a point where like I struggle to finish making stuff by myself.
Oh.
And I don't know if that's just an indecisiveness or like a lack of faith in my own ability. But very rarely do I come to the band with a full demo of like, here's the song, let's alter it, but this is basically what it should be, I think.
Yeah.
So I value the fact that in order for me to grow creatively and just continue on that path, I need to open up to other people's ideas.
Yeah.
And like I say, it comes with like value in the people. I used to be very much like, I know what I want. It needs to be this way. I'm the only person who can achieve this. Whereas now, where like when we're working, I feel like obviously there's bits that we work on together, but especially in the initial stage of a song, we might go back and forth where it's be like, okay, you've put down this bass line or something, I'll go put down the drums to it, and then we swap and you put the synths there. I'm not like standing over you being like, it has to be like this. I'm like, I'll see what you come up with, and then we'll work from there.
We'll see where it goes. Yeah, it's good that like people have that sort of relationship. Like, again, talking about Coldplay, like the Ghost Stories era, like we know, like Chris has always said in interviews that he wants them to sort of bring stuff to the table, but sometimes they don't. Maybe it's just because they're shy or what, or like they've had the method and it's worked. With like all these obviously #1 albums and stuff. But like with Magic, that was Guy and Will.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, we got this, and he was like, shit, that's good. And then he went off, came back, and like wrote the song.
Yeah.
And obviously there's other times where like I know that they were busy and like Chris Martin just wrote like The Scientist and gone like, this is the song, like the bare bones, like piano and vocals, and like that's kind of it.
Yeah. I think it makes music more interesting when it comes together like that, because so take like Jamie, for instance, in my band, he's the drummer. He can't write a song fully by himself.
They could give it a go.
Well, yeah, but he can't really. He can play like a bit of keyboard, but he's just really good at playing the drums, and he knows how songs like he knows how he wants stuff that I bring to the table to go. Like, he can see the vision, but he couldn't make something from start to finish by himself.
Yeah,
but he brings something interesting to things that I make. You know, does that make sense? So like, you're saying sometimes Chris Martin will write a song by himself, right? Sometimes I could just write a song by myself, but it's not as interesting as if I start something and then have someone else bring things to the table, because the fact that he's not a traditional songwriter makes it more interesting. You know what I mean? Because he brings all his influence and his background, and Sean brings all his influence and his background, so that it goes from me just writing a song on the guitar to like us all sat around the computer in the studio crafting this thing that you don't necessarily have to have a deep understanding of how to do one specific thing. You know, there's many videos on TikTok that have been going off at the minute because they're videos of Jamie telling me how to write the guitar part, and he's going ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba, and like just trying to explain it with his mouth, and then I translate that, and that's far more interesting than me coming from a guitar background just writing a guitar riff, because that's what any guitarist could do. But if you get the drummer to do it, that's crazy.
I also think it makes it more open to the listeners, you know what I mean? Because he's going to see it in a different way. Like when you say you can see like an image of where you're going, he's going to hear it from like the listener's point of view, do you know what I mean? Even though he's adding stuff to it, he's like, oh, he's just going to go off like how it sounds more than what you're thinking. Yeah,
I would agree. One thing that I was going to ask you is, why do you think that it can be such a tricky thing to have that creative relationship? Because we've been
through it.
We've been through it.
Yeah, we have.
Forming, norming, storming, reforming.
Big up stages. That guy. Big up whoever that guy was.
So quick story time. We were in college. First year?
Yeah, that's changed loads of stuff.
Some dude come in. I feel like he was a Christian dude.
Yeah, he was a faith guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a God-bothering man, but he spoke some wisdom truths, and he was saying that when a group of people, I think he was referring to just the college group, surely, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So like, when a group of people first get thrown into the mix together, they go through those stages. They form, they norm, they find the balance.
Yeah.
Then they storm, they fall out a bit, and they reform.
Yeah.
But this is what I've been thinking about recently, right? Do you think that is that a continuing process?
Yeah, I think it's always like storming, reforming, because then you're going back to the initial forming, then you're norming your sound, then you're storming over something. But it was mad because at the time we was norming. We was like, oh, we've not done that. Like, there's not been a situation where we've argued.
No, we fell out with Joe.
Yeah, and then the Joe situation happened, and was like, oh, and then but it was mad because instantly was like, shit, we're storming. Yeah.
And I think as long as
mad that.
But this is what I've thought about recently, is you have to be able to get through the storming phase. Not all relationships survive the storming phase.
I've not thought about
be
that.
It actual like relationships, or creative relationships. So like, if you're in the storming phase, I've been in storming phases with people I've been in bands with, and certain people just can't admit that they're wrong, or like they're not willing to be honest about stuff.
Yeah,
or
there'll
like,
be issues, won't there? There'll be issues in the storming phase.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I think if to get out the storming phase, you have to all be like, okay, I have to lay it out. Here's what I did wrong. Here's what you did wrong. I apologise. You apologise. But you have to all admit to your problems.
Yeah.
But if people aren't willing to do that, then you just fall apart in the storming phase and you never get to the next phase. It's very clever. We need to find out who that guy was.
Yeah. Tony might know who that guy is.
Yeah, he probably will. He's probably been in since.
But, yeah, like, there's a few situations in my head that I can think of, right? One is Take That. Only because I remember my granddad was in the army. And, listen.
Wild connection.
And Take That was in Germany.
When your granddad was in the army?
Yeah, and that's where he was based.
Right.
So
how old was he at the time?
I don't fucking know how old he was at the time.
When you said my granddad was in the army, I was thinking, like, back in the day.
No, he's not like 1904.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was around the area where Take That was when they broke up.
Right.
So you know what? We've talked about it a few times because my mum likes to say that. And
did they call for military aid?
Well, I think they were just. I don't know whether they was in like a fucking army situation, like in an army base or whatever, or they were just like needed some help because they would have been like fans and shit, and they was rehearsing for the tour. But like he was in the vicinity when Robbie went, and that's a storming thing. Do you know what I mean? He was just like, oh no, not do it anymore because he was like big man money, along with Big GB, who's also a big man.
Yeah,
and they've stormed, gone off, and they've both done well for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But then obviously they had the reforming later on.
But it took a long time.
Yeah.
Because, and this goes back to what you were saying before about it being an ego thing, in bands, particularly bands and indie bands, everyone has a overinflated sense of self-importance. So you have to be mature to admit that you're wrong, and people in bands aren't mature. Unless you're in my band, because we're all very like
mature.
Well, not
when Sean's on the podcast, we'll see.
We'll
see what the people say.
We're not mature. Like our sense of humor isn't mature, but like we look out for each other. We're very close.
Yeah.
And we very like want to make sure we're all okay. So if one of us is in the wrong about something, we'd more than openly admit it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which hasn't been the case in the past, but I feel like, again, we value the relationship. But you have to get over your ego to admit that you're wrong, and then that's how you get out the storming phase.
Like, don't know, some people, like, the other thing I was thinking about when, I was talking about deciding this for a topic for a podcast was Little Mix, right?
Right.
Because they are massive, you can't deny it, they're massive in pop music.
Yeah.
And like, they're known for the 4 people, and they've fucking lost Jesse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think it's going to change? I don't think it is going to change. I don't think that Little Mix is going to change because they've lost one person, because they're all like kind of vocalists.
Yeah.
I don't know about the songs. I think they do. They put loads into it, but they're always like collaborating. They're known for like the harmonies and stuff. Like it's all things you can kind of do without one of the people.
But it goes back to what we were saying before about if you're in a band and there's like a chief songwriter, then everyone else to a degree could be viewed as interchangeable depending on how much they put towards the final product. So if you aren't the person who's writing the song, then you're interchangeable.
Yeah. So one, I've got a few people that I'm thinking about, right? Swedish House Mafia.
What happened with them?
They split up, didn't they?
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily songwriters. Do you know what I mean? Because the DJs and like producers.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like a different sort of thing. But I assume that one of them was just like unhappy. I think it was Steve and Jello that went off. And then you kind of had Axwell and Sebastian Ingrosso still doing their own like thing.
Yeah.
And he just kind of went off. But it was never as big as what Swedish House Mafia was. Which shows, like, this is what I mean. Like, they obviously was not interchangeable as a group. Because maybe like, they would have tried working with other people, I assume, and collaborated anyway, because like that's what a lot of people do, and you're like producers and DJs. But it just was never as good.
You see it quite often, don't you? I mean, even look at Take That. Like, has anyone other than Robbie Williams had a successful career outside of Take That?
No.
Obviously, Gary Barlow's done a bit of songwriting and that, but
He's into like choirs and shit now.
Is he? But like, he's not pop star by himself, is he? You know what I mean? So like, sometimes there's people who have the sauce, who bring that spice,
The secret ingredient sauce.
Yeah, and the other people are just
it's mad though, isn't it? Like,
but actually, to be fair, sorry to interrupt, but
I'm okay with it.
That doesn't mean that the other people are completely interchangeable, because like, so say my band was famous and we split up.
Yeah,
Jabsy wouldn't have a solo career.
Right.
I'd be the one who had the solo career, but that doesn't.
But this is what I'm saying.
That doesn't mean that Jabsy's value as part of the band is any less.
This is what I'm saying. It's like a weird situation for them, because like they're not necessarily songwriters. Where everything we've talked about so far, there's been like songwriters. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that was my point. But like maybe like they could have, carried on Swedish House Mafia with someone else that they thought was good enough.
Yeah, changes the
dynamic. But it wouldn't have been the same. And I feel like you would have heard that it wasn't the same. Like Catfish isn't the same as that first album.
Yeah.
And the only other thing, well, I've got 30 Seconds to Mars, but you don't really know much about them.
No.
But it's basically like Jared Leto, right?
Yeah.
And his brother's the drummer, and like they've been through guitarists in the past, like first, second album. They had another fella as well, and then there was like a 3-piece for ages with like a guy called Tomo who was the guitarist, and now they're like just Jared and Sharon Leto.
Yeah.
The guitarist has gone off and he's like streaming and stuff, and it's gonna be he's the songwriter and he's like the brains behind it. But it's going to be so different whenever they bring something else out. And like performing wise, I don't know what you're going to do there.
Yeah, well, because didn't the similar thing happen to like Paramore and Panic at the Disco and people like that?
We've spoken about Paramore before. I was like, it's just Hayley Williams. I don't know, actually, we are going into about that deeply. But like they've interchanged fucking loads of people.
Exactly.
But because it's Hayley Williams, and Paramore's like the band, it's been successful because it's her. But like obviously, like the album was like different compared to like the emo stuff in the past.
Yeah,
that was when I was in college. That when that came out. What else have we got? Fifth Harmony, right?
Right.
Camila Cabello.
Yeah.
Went.
She was the Robbie of the situation.
She's the Robbie. She's done well, but like in Fifth Harmony, like I assume you don't know much about them.
I don't know anything.
But like I don't think you would have guessed that there was like a one. Like Normani's doing stuff as well now.
Yeah.
But like, you can sort of see like when you look back that like she was like not happy when they was doing interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
That isolated in the group.
Yeah, it's difficult to find people, and this is why I sometimes don't understand the whole like throwing a pop band together. It's difficult to find people that can work together creatively, and I don't know necessarily why it is. It's difficult to find people that can work together in general, but especially when it's something that generally, if you're working in music, it's something that you care about a lot.
Yeah. And you want to like succeed in.
Exactly. So if you're working with people that you clash with, then there's a lot at stake.
Yeah.
And that can cause friction.
Yeah, definitely. But who else?
I thought you were going to talk about my am I on the list?
Yeah, you're just above the Bake Off.
Hang on a minute. The Bake Off?
Yeah, relationships, Mary Berry.
Oh yeah, but that was because they moved
exactly, but it's still their relationship, isn't it? Like people.
Well, yeah, but it's more contractual.
People, no, well, the reason why she left, yeah, maybe. But what I'm saying is people would have watched the Bake Off because they liked Paul and Mary Berry. So when people have found out that they're moving, but Mary Berry's not coming back, they're like, oh well, shit, I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah.
The same with like Sue and Mel. And now it's like Matt Lucas and Noah Fielding.
Very, very, very weird that you choose to call them Sue and Mel.
Not Mel and Sue.
Yeah, it's definitely Mel and Sue.
Okay, what other people say?
It's like you don't call them Webb and Mitchell, Wise and Morecambe.
Mel you still Sue. Know exactly what I'm on about.
Well, yeah, in context, but it just sounded weird.
But again,
hit the ears very strangely.
But it's just one of them like working relationship things.
Yeah. It's
Like,
difficult.
I do feel like it would have impacted the viewers
Can't believe we're talking about
more.
the Bake Off.
I feel like that would have impacted the viewers more than going from BBC One to Channel 4.
Yeah, I would agree. But I think we've gone off topic.
I think we've gone off
Should we
topic.
get into tactical tracks? Do you
Just One Direction. I've not spoken about.
One Direction's
That's the same thing.
Yeah, I noticed that these are all like
bands.
Like boy bands,
Well,
girl bands. People who've just been thrown together by Simon Cowell.
That's like the interesting thing, though, isn't it? Because like people have got.
Well, it's interesting in that it's proven time and time again that you can't just throw a load of people together and expect them to make good music. Just because
Good music's a subjectiveness, isn't it?
Well,
but
yeah.
I mean,
Just
like, people
because-
want the goal. They have the shared goal, but not maybe the shared vision.
yeah, just because people are good individually does not mean they will be good at working together. But
like
on the flip side, often you can get people who are just generally okay.
Yeah.
But together, the sum of like Coldplay aren't amazing musicians.
like individually, yeah.
Yeah, like Will's not a very technically proficient drummer a lot of the time. But
Don't think he knew how to play the drums when they
exactly,
began.
you know what I mean? But together, they equal something that is greater than the sum of their parts.
Yeah.
It is time for, as always, Jack's Tactical Tracks.
Yes.
Do you want to explain the premise of Tactical Tracks for any new viewers?
Of tactical tracks for the new viewers. So I come up with a question, and I get Liam to answer with a song.
Yeah. Okay.
That was fucking very
That was very succinct. Well done.
Yeah.
So
this week,
what is this week's
podcast
scenario?
we've got. What song would you pick if you get past the aux chord? So the scenario I'm building is like, you're in the car, got a few of the boys. The boys can be anyone, but like close friends.
Yeah, okay.
And, the phone's going round. You cue a song up.
Yeah.
Okay, it's that time. It's make or break it. You don't want to ruin the vibe. You don't want to pick a shit one. Because like, there's obviously songs that you like.
Yeah.
But is it going to gel?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's funny, whenever I'm in that scenario, people like, give you the phone, cue some stuff.
Yeah.
I forget every song I've ever heard in my entire life.
It's because you're on the spot, aren't you?
Yeah.
But like, like our Tesco trips, it's always, here you go.
Yeah. Okay, what do you want to...
So
you go
the
first?
one that comes into my mind for the boys is The Less I Know The Better. Tame Impala.
That's a good call.
Always a good one. And we spoke about it before with like, the sort of like backwards head bop.
Yeah.
And it's vibey, it's groovy.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you don't know it, I feel like you're going to sync with it.
Yeah, I feel like there's not many people that don't like that song.
Like a lot of people, I assume, don't know Tame Impala.
Yeah.
But it's one of them, oh, this is good.
Yeah, you can get down to it. It's poppy, it's groovy. I like it.
And it's also, I think it would gel with any vibe that like has gone before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Because you obviously don't know what like the last person queued, what the next person's going to queue.
Yeah, I would agree. That's probably a good shout. I wish I'd have thought of something like that. My thinking is, and it's difficult as well, it very much depends on who I'm in the car with.
This is why it's a hard question.
This is where I'm struggling, right?
Because like I've been in cars with like obviously my boys, I've been in the car with like some of your boys, or like sometimes when I'm like with people from work, I'm like, get the phone going, get like an icebreaker sort of thing. What music you into?
Yeah, because that one always stresses me out when I'm trying to when it's someone new
With
in the
new
car
people, yeah.
and I'm trying to convey this is who I am
Yeah, exactly.
via these
It's tough,
songs
man.
that
It's
I'm
very
playing
tough.
for you. The first thing that came to mind was
This is going to be interesting because yours are either decent or, personally to me, I think your answers are sometimes shit. So I feel like it's going to be interesting.
the first thing that came to mind was Holding On by Knightley. Right. And the reason that springs to mind, I think, is just from past experience. When we'd be hanging about in Kate's car, I would always put it on.
Right.
just because it's kind of, it'd be nighttime, we'd just be chilling,
Yeah.
you know, eating McFlurries,
Okay.
driving about the town, whatever. And it's just I feel like it fits the vibe of like chilling at nighttime with your friends,
Yeah. Okay.
but is also poppy enough to appeal.
So you're saying that this has been like tried and tested?
Yeah. So that's a good one that I would go to.
Okay.
If I was in that scenario.
Good song.
And then another just standard is, and again, but this is for different scenarios. Fame by David Bowie.
Oh, see that's a bit of a clashy one, I think.
I think it's good because it's kind of poppy and groovy, but it also shows that you're a bit cool because it's David Bowie.
To some people, you could be a bit cool. Like if I'm like, oh shit, David Bowie. I love David Bowie. But some people are gonna go like, what the fuck's this?
Yeah, and as well, like some people just don't like older music.
Yeah.
People are like, what's this old shit?
Yeah.
People think it's old if it came out before 2015.
Yep.
But that's who I am. I'm gonna stand by those choices.
Yeah. The only other one I could think of, again, is a similar vibe to Let's Know Better, was a MGMT.
Oh yes.
Electric Feel.
Yeah. That is a good one. See, I'm struggling to think of anything that is like that.
Like I'd say it's hard.
Widely appealable.
Yeah. Like I'd say it's harder when I'm with you, because I'm like, you're gonna judge me on it.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna judge the music as well.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna like, if this is shit, you're gonna judge me thinking, Jack, what do you like about this?
Yeah.
But if it's like that's what I mean. If it's a general, group of people, general situation, what do I think is gonna go off?
Yeah. I'm not happy with my answers fully. But
Oh, bro, what do you mean?
But I can't think of anything else.
I thought you was gonna say, do I want to know?
Well, you know what I was thinking about?
That's what I thought you was going to say.
Anything by Arctic Monkeys will go down pretty well.
AM is a pretty much
AM's a
tried
good
and
one.
tested one as well.
And then like some of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
Like Fluorescent Adolescent.
Yeah.
Those sort of vibes will generally go down pretty well. But yeah, no, I was thinking about Are You Mine, but I just thought we talked about AM a lot.
It's a really good album.
We've used Are You Mine as examples before, and Do I Want to Know as examples before, so I thought I'd change it up.
I'm glad that you didn't pick something a bit, left field. Like something you'd choose to test the waters.
Yeah, but I'm not going to put John Hopkins on in a car of homies, am I?
You want to get your burst like that?
Well, but again, it depends who I'm with, because like if it was just me and Sean, then I would, because I'd be like, check this shit out, you know what I mean? And I feel like my groups of friends have very different music tastes. Like,
I reckon
Fame is very much like Jabsy.
Yeah.
And I'd put more left field stuff on if I was with Sean, and I'd put stuff like Holding On. Yeah, Nightly. I'd put Nightly on if I was with Kate or Jodie.
Yeah.
So it depends. It is a tough question though. It's a good tactical tracks, that.
Thanks.
But yeah, there we go.
That's it.
That brings us to the end of this strange episode. Do
you know what number it is?
I feel like we're on episode 16, I want to say. 16 or 17.
It's been a weird vibe.
It's a weird vibe today. Yeah. So basically, it's just us two.
Paulie's dead.
Paul,
for today.
Our cameraman / just general hands of the operation, is not here. So we're like, throughout the episode, I keep like looking over at the camera just to check that we're still recording. Yeah. So I apologise for any awkward eye contact. But yeah, it's been a good episode. I've still enjoyed it. Thank you for listening and or watching, depending on where you are. If you're watching the YouTube version of this, the video version, please be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any sort of distributor, follow, like, subscribe, depending on what the platform allows you to do.
There'll be a button somewhere.
Yeah, there'll be a button somewhere. Thank you very much. This has been Stereotypical. Peace.